in general, it's been an interesting year, and one thing we're seeing is a lot of interest in the market out there for coming to Shelton. I think having the Tractor Supply store open has actually drawn some attention to others that want to do the same thing. So that's been, I think, a positive for not only the area, but for us as well. We've embarked on some activity on the site. You've probably noticed that. In summary, Cascade Gas had a large high-pressure gas main that was transecting the site that needed to be relocated for us to commence grading activity. A lot of the work that commenced during the summer was relocating that gas main, which has been completed. It got completed actually sometime in August. We've been pursuing a grading permit through the city, and we're continuing to pursue that. We also need access to a portion of the right-of-way from WashDOT. You probably noticed that large knoll with the trees still on it. We haven't secured permission to clear and grade that portion of the site area. We're in the process of negotiating an exchange with WashDOT to work all that through, and that's coming together. Didn't come together in time to get that grading, clearing, and that portion of the work done this year, but we're continuing to push on that. We're working with the Department of Ecology on some cleanup activity that we'd like to complete as part of our initial phase of grading. In the Goose Lake reports that have been completed by Rainier, there was a small area that was identified on our site that had some contamination that we were trying to work through a plan to complete a cleanup for that, get an agreed order and a work plan. That also is something that we got very close on. Some things happened that came up at the 11th hour. Didn't allow us to complete that effort, but we're continuing to work through what we need to do to get that done. So in general, we're pretty optimistic about things coming together. We have a number of retailers that are interested in coming onto the phase one, which would be sort of a roughly 20-acre area right off the interchange would be the initial commercial phase. We're talking with some residential builders about doing some housing and further west and south, as well as some users in the business park. So there's been some renewed activity all around, and we're interested in working with the port, and I'll be talking to Wendy about things that we can do jointly here in the future. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Everything looks good. We're moving forward and slowly but surely.
We are patient. Yes.
Mm-hmm. How's the Department of Transportation, the interchange change? Where's that been lately?
We have the design of the interchange work completed.
Mm-hmm.
It includes a repositioning of the southbound ramps, some minor work on the northbound ramps, and widening the overpass.
Right.
A number of elements of that we've agreed to. Chiefly that we would do the work on the west side of the overpass, and the overpass itself would be a project here taken on by the city or the state.
Mm-hmm.
They're very nervous about anyone working over highways, and I think there was an accident a few years ago where the contractor had some problems and there was a casualty. So that's understandable. We are now working on an exchange agreement for this surplus right-of-way in exchange for land that we would dedicate for the reconfigured interchange and getting the bridge overpass funded and completed, as well as this interim agreement to allow us access to clear and grade that portion of the knoll.
Mm-hmm.
That's going a little slower than I'd like, to be frank with you, but we are talking, and we're hoping to get something that we can allow us access to that area pretty soon.
Do you have any kind of a timeline idea for the future you can share?
Nothing really concrete other than we would like to move as fast as we can. And we think that there's a window of opportunity coming up this year for some of these permits and things to come together and to allow us to do that. There is a fair amount of infrastructure that has to go in, so it'll take a little time. But just the amount of work we did on the gas main did generate a lot of interest from a number of areas on what's going on around here. We've heard about this Shelton project for years.
Mhm.
Is it finally happening kind of thing? So that's been good.
Mhm. Good.
Did you come to any, or has there been any resolution to the question of building the substation? Who's going to pay for that?
Well, we think that the current arrangement that the PUD has put together can help solve that, rather than relying on us solely to solve a capacity issue that the whole community has, that we can work through a structure where the PUD takes on a portion of that, the users that are coming online take on a portion of that, and that's much more amenable. We've talked to them about locating a substation, and we still need to do some homework on a suitable site for that. But in the interim, they have enough capacity to serve our initial phase, so it's a longer-term problem, really. I think an immediate need can be met.
So do you think you'll be putting in like grading and infrastructure stuff all of 2018 before you actually start something building upwards?
Well,
Think it'll take that long?
There's a lot of things that have to come together before we start putting in infrastructure, and it'd be tough to rely on a lot of these different pieces all coming together that quickly, but we sure like them to. We are talking to the city about a development agreement and perfecting our entitlements there as well.
Mhm.
And we're hoping that will come together in a matter of a few months and allow us to get some of that infrastructure in the ground once those agreements are in place. It'd be tough to start a lot of that, those hard improvements without those agreements. So,
Right.
Yeah, we're optimistic though.
Okay. Cool.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll be looking for you guys to shop down there when time comes.
No worries.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.